5 years ago, everyone told me I was the luckiest woman alive. They saw Ethan Carter standing on magazine covers, shaking hands with investors, and becoming one of the youngest CEOs in the country. They saw the luxury apartment, the expensive cars, and the successful company. But they didn't see the nights when Ethan slept at his desk because he was afraid his company would fail. They didn't see me selling my grandmother's necklace to pay his employees. They didn't see me working until 3 in the morning helping him organize business plans, revise contracts, and convince investors to give him one more chance. When Ethan had nothing, I was the only person who believed in him. He used to hold my hand and say, "Sadie, when I make it big, I'll give you the life you deserve." I believed him. I really did. Because back then, Ethan wasn't the arrogant CEO everyone admired today. He was just a young man with a dream and a lot of fear. And I was the woman standing beside him, telling him he could do it. But people change when the world starts praising them. Sometimes, success doesn't reveal someone's best qualities. Sometimes, it reveals the person they were hiding all along. The first time I noticed Ethan was changing was at a business dinner. I had spent hours choosing my dress. Not because I wanted attention. Because it was an important night for him. It was the night Ethan was receiving an award for his company's growth. I wanted to stand beside him and celebrate the man I had supported for years. But when I walked downstairs, Ethan looked at me and his smile disappeared. "You're wearing that?" I stopped. "What do you mean?" He looked me up and down. "It's just, not the best choice." My fingers tightened around my purse. "Not the best choice?" He sighed. "Sadie, don't make this a big deal. I'm just saying you could have picked something more flattering." I forced a smile. "I thought you liked this dress." "I liked it before." His answer hurt more than I expected. Before. Like something about me had expired. I looked at him carefully. "Ethan, are you embarrassed to be seen with me?" For a second, guilt flashed across his face. But it disappeared quickly. "Don't be dramatic." That was his favorite response. Whenever I was hurt, I was dramatic. Whenever I questioned him, I was too sensitive. Whenever I asked for love, I was asking for too much. I didn't know that night would be the beginning of the end. After Ethan became successful, everything about our marriage started changing. He stopped holding my hand when we went outside. He stopped introducing me proudly. He started saying things like, "You should really start taking better care of yourself. You don't look like the wives of other CEOs." You know, people notice these things. At first, I tried to understand him. I thought maybe he was stressed. Maybe success came with pressure. Maybe he just needed time. So I tried. I changed my hairstyle. I bought new clothes. I started exercising. Not because I hated myself. Because I loved him. I wanted to feel close to the man I married. But nothing was enough. One night, while we were having dinner, Ethan looked at my plate and frowned. "Are you really eating that?" I looked up. "It's just pasta. You know why you have trouble losing weight?" I froze. "Ethan. I'm just being honest." "No. You're being cruel." He leaned back. "I'm trying to help you." "No, you're trying to make me feel bad." His expression became cold. "Maybe if you accepted reality, you wouldn't be so upset." Reality. That word stayed in my mind. Because the reality was simple. The man who once told me I was beautiful was now the person making me feel ugly. Then Victoria Hayes came back. Ethan's first love. The woman everyone in his social circle considered perfect. Beautiful. Elegant. Slim. Successful. The moment she returned, Ethan changed completely. He started smiling at his phone again. He started staying late at the office. He started comparing me. Victoria understands business better. Victoria knows how to present herself. Victoria is more ambitious. Every sentence felt like a knife. One evening, I found Ethan looking at an old photo of Victoria. He quickly locked his phone. But it was too late. I saw everything. I saw the way he looked at her. The same way he used to look at me. "Ethan." He looked annoyed. "What? Do you still love her?" The room became silent. For a moment, I thought he would deny it. I thought he would tell me I was imagining things. Instead, he said, "Things are complicated." My heart sank. "Complicated?" He rubbed his forehead. "Sadie, don't start." "No. I want to know." I looked directly at him. "After everything we've been through, do you still want her?" He didn't answer. And sometimes, silence is the cruelest answer. 3 days later, Ethan asked me to meet him at home. I knew something was wrong. When I walked in, I saw a folder on the table. A divorce agreement. I stared at it. What is this? Ethan didn't look at me. I think we both know this marriage isn't working anymore. My chest tightened. You want a divorce? Yes. Because of Victoria? His jaw tightened. Don't make this about her. Then what is it about? He finally looked at me. And the words that came next destroyed everything. I don't feel attracted to you anymore. I felt like the air disappeared. What? You've changed, Sadie. I laughed quietly because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Changed? He looked away. You're not the woman I married. No, Ethan. My voice shook. I'm exactly the woman you married. The woman who stayed when you had nothing. The woman who believed in you. The woman who helped build your company. But now you have money, and suddenly I'm not good enough? His silence answered me. Then he said the sentence I would never forget. I just don't want to spend the rest of my life with someone who doesn't take care of herself. My eyes burned. So that's what I am to you? I whispered. A problem you need to fix? Ethan said nothing. I looked at the man I had loved for 10 years. And for the first time, I didn't recognize him. I signed the divorce papers. Ethan looked surprised. You're not going to fight? I picked up the pen. No. Why? I looked at him calmly. Because I finally understand something. What? I was fighting for a marriage that you already abandoned. His expression changed. Maybe he expected tears. Maybe he expected me to beg. But I didn't. I signed my name. Sadie Cooper. The woman who once gave him everything. The woman who was finally choosing herself. I stood up and walked toward the door. Behind me, Ethan said. Sadie, you'll regret this. I stopped. Then I smiled. No, Ethan. You will. I left without looking back. But neither of us knew that the woman walking out of his life that day would become the woman the entire world would fight to know. And Ethan Carter would soon discover the biggest mistake of his life. He didn't lose a wife. He lost the woman who built his empire. For 10 years, I thought losing Ethan Carter would be the most painful thing I would ever experience. I was wrong. The most painful thing was realizing that the man I loved had been gone long before he asked for a divorce. The Ethan I remembered was the man who held my hand during the hardest days. The Ethan standing in front of me now was a stranger wearing his face. After signing the divorce papers, I packed my belongings quietly. No crying. No begging. No last attempt to save something that only I was trying to save. Ethan watched me place my clothes into a suitcase. You're really leaving? I stopped for a second. I almost laughed. Because after everything he said, he still sounded surprised. I turned around. You asked me for a divorce, Ethan. He frowned. I didn't think you would actually walk away. That sentence told me everything. He didn't want me. He just wanted to know I would always be there. Available. Waiting. Forgiving. But I was done. You thought I would stay no matter how much you hurt me. His expression changed slightly. That's not what I meant. Isn't it? I zipped my suitcase. You thought because I loved you, I had no limit. He didn't answer. Because he knew I was right. Before leaving, I went into my old office. It was the smallest room in our house, but it held everything I had built. My notes. My designs. My research. The plans I created when Ethan's company was nothing but an idea. I looked through the documents one last time. For years, I convinced myself that supporting my husband was part of being a good wife. I never cared about recognition. I never asked him to thank me. But now I realized something. There was a difference between love and losing yourself. And I had lost myself. I took my personal files and walked out. Ethan noticed. What are those? My work. He gave a small laugh. Your work? I looked at him. Yes. Sadie, don't pretend you were a business partner. You helped me, but this is my company. I stared at him. Those words hurt. Not because they were unfair. Because they came from him. The same man who once told investors, my wife is the reason this company survived. I smiled sadly. Don't worry, Ethan. I'm not taking anything that belongs to you. I picked up my files. I'm taking back what belongs to me. The first week after leaving Ethan was the hardest. I moved into a small apartment. Not luxurious. Not impressive. But it was mine. For the first time in years, I woke up without wondering if someone was judging me. I didn't have to ask. Do I look good enough? Am I embarrassing him? Will he still love me today? The silence was painful. But it was also peaceful. Then came the moment I broke down. I was standing in front of the mirror. The same mirror where Ethan once told me I needed to change. I looked at myself. I saw the woman who had spent years putting everyone else first. And I whispered, why did I let someone else decide my worth? That night, I cried. Not because I missed Ethan. Because I missed the old Sadie. The woman who believed she deserved love without conditions. The woman who believed kindness would always be rewarded. But when I woke up the next morning, something inside me changed. I made a promise. I would never become beautiful for Ethan. I would become powerful for myself. While I was rebuilding my life, Ethan was living the future he thought he wanted. The media quickly reported his new relationship with Victoria Hayes. CEO Ethan Carter finds love again with his first love. The headlines were everywhere. Friends sent me messages. Some asked if I was okay. Some wanted gossip. Some secretly wanted to see me fall apart. I ignored them all. Because I had something more important to do. I started rebuilding the project I had abandoned years ago. A health and wellness technology company. A business idea I created before Ethan's company became successful. At the time, Ethan told me, Sadie, it's just a hobby. Focus on supporting me first. I listened. I gave up my dream. But now? Nobody was stopping me. I spent every day studying. Meeting experts. Building my team. I didn't want revenge. I wanted freedom. 3 months later, Ethan finally noticed something strange. My name appeared in a business report. Not as his ex-wife. Not as the woman who supported him. As the founder of a new company. He called me. I looked at my phone. Ethan Carter. The name that once made my heart race. Now, it only made me tired. I answered. Hello? His voice sounded different. Less confident. Sadie. What do you need? There was a pause. You started a company? Yes. You never told me. I almost smiled. You never asked. Sadie, why are you doing this? I frowned. Doing what? Starting a company. Competing with people like me. I leaned back. I'm not competing with you, Ethan. Then what are you doing? I'm building my own life. He became quiet. Then his voice softened. I didn't know you wanted this. I looked at my laptop screen filled with my plans. You never knew a lot of things about me. That sentence silenced him. Because it was true. Ethan knew the wife who cooked for him. The wife who supported him. The wife who waited for him. But he never bothered to know the woman underneath. A few days later, Ethan and I met at a business event. It was the first time we saw each other after the divorce. He arrived with Victoria. She held his arm confidently. She looked at me and smiled. Sadie, I heard you started a little company. The word little was intentional. I looked at her calmly. Yes. Everyone starts somewhere. Victoria smiled. Of course. It must be difficult without Ethan's support. Before I could respond, Ethan looked uncomfortable. But he didn't defend me. Not yet. Old habits. Old choices. Victoria continued. Building a company isn't as easy as helping someone else's company. The people nearby became quiet. They wanted to see how I would react. I simply smiled. You're right. Victoria looked surprised. I continued. That's why this time, I'm building one that has my name on it. Then someone walked over. A famous investor. Alexander Reed. The heir of Reed Global. Everyone knew him. He rarely attended small business events. But tonight, he walked directly toward me. Ms. Cooper. I turned. Mr. Reed. He smiled. I've been looking for you. The entire room went silent. Victoria's expression changed. Ethan stared. Alexander handed me a file. I reviewed your proposal. And? I want to invest. Ethan looked shocked. Alexander, you know her? Alexander glanced at him. Of course. Then he said something that made everyone freeze. Actually, Mr. Carter, I know Sadie's work better than you do. Ethan's face changed. Alexander looked at me. You created something impressive. I'm surprised someone who was married to you didn't see it. That sentence hit harder than any insult. Because everyone understood what he meant. Ethan didn't lose me because I wasn't enough. He lost me because he never recognized my value. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. For the first time, he searched my name online. And what he found shocked him. Articles. Interviews. Business reports. People were talking about Sadie Cooper. Not as Ethan Carter's wife. As a woman with her own future. Meanwhile, I sat in my apartment reviewing my first major investment agreement. Alexander's words kept repeating in my mind. You don't need to prove you are valuable. You only need to stop letting people make you forget. For the first time in years, I believed it. But I didn't know yet that my biggest transformation was only beginning. And Ethan Carter was about to discover that the woman he abandoned was becoming the woman everyone wanted. 3 months after my divorce from Ethan Carter, people stopped asking me how I was doing. Because they no longer saw me as the woman who had been abandoned. They saw me as someone who was rising. My company, Rise Wellness Technologies, was growing faster than anyone expected. The same people who once whispered that I was nothing more than a CEO's wife were now requesting meetings with me. But I knew something important. Success wasn't about proving Ethan wrong. It was about proving myself right. I had spent years believing I needed someone else's approval. Now I finally understood. The only person I needed to impress was the woman staring back at me in the mirror. Sadie, the investors are waiting. My assistant, Emma, walked into my office holding a tablet. I looked up from the documents. Are they still interested after seeing the numbers? She smiled. They're more than interested. 3 companies want exclusive partnership rights. I nodded. Good. But don't rush. We choose partners who believe in our vision, not just our profits. Emma smiled. You sound exactly like a CEO. I laughed softly. I've always been one. I just forgot. That sentence surprised even me. Because it was true. I didn't suddenly become capable after my divorce. I had always been capable. I just spent too many years standing behind someone else. That afternoon, I had my first major presentation as the founder of Rise Wellness Technologies. The room was filled with investors, business leaders, and media representatives. People who once only knew me as Ethan Carter's wife now sat across from me, waiting to hear my ideas. I walked to the front confidently. Thank you for being here today. I opened the presentation. Our mission is simple. We want to create technology that helps people build healthier relationships with their bodies and their lives. A man in the audience raised his hand. Ms. Cooper, your company is impressive. But many people know you mainly because of your marriage to Ethan Carter. The question was polite. But everyone knew what he was really asking. Are you successful because of him? I smiled. That's true. The room became quiet. I was once known as Ethan Carter's wife. I paused. But I was also the woman who helped him build his first company. The woman who created many of the strategies he used. The woman who spent years learning business behind the scenes. The investor nodded. So are you saying Ethan Carter's success was partly because of you? I looked directly at the cameras. I'm saying my story doesn't begin or end with Ethan Carter. A few people exchanged looks. I continued. I don't need to take credit for his success. But I also won't allow anyone to erase my contribution. The room became silent. Then someone started clapping. More people followed. And for the first time in my life, I heard applause for Sadie Cooper. Not someone's wife. Not someone's supporter. Me. The news spread quickly. Former Mrs. Carter reveals her hidden business talent. From divorce to CEO, Sadie Cooper's unexpected comeback. But the person who reacted the most was Ethan. He saw the interview that night. And for the first time, he looked uncomfortable. Victoria noticed. Why are you watching her? Ethan turned off the screen. I'm not. Victoria crossed her arms. You've been staring at her company news for 20 minutes. It's just business. She laughed. Business? Her tone became colder. Don't tell me you regret leaving her. Ethan frowned. That's ridiculous. Is it? Victoria stepped closer. She looks different. Ethan didn't answer. Because he knew. She did look different. But not because of her appearance. Because her eyes had changed. The Sadie who used to look at him like he was her entire world was gone. The woman on the screen didn't need him. And that bothered him more than he wanted to admit. A week later, Ethan came to my company. I was surprised when my assistant told me. Mr. Carter is here. I looked up. Did he say why? No. I thought for a moment. Then I said. Send him in. Ethan walked into my office. For a second, I saw the man I used to love. Then I remembered everything. What brings you here? He looked around. Not at my office. At my company. At my employees. At the life I built without him. You really did this. I raised an eyebrow. Did what? Built something. I smiled slightly. Yes. He looked uncomfortable. I didn't know you were capable of this. That sentence almost made me laugh. Almost. Instead, I said. That's because you never bothered to know me. His expression changed. Sadie, that's not fair. isn't it? I stood up. For years, you saw me as the woman cooking dinner, organizing your schedule, and supporting your dreams. I walked toward my desk. But you never saw the woman who was creating ideas, analyzing markets, and helping you make decisions. Ethan lowered his eyes. I made mistakes. Yes. My answer was immediate. He looked surprised. I know. No, Ethan. I shook my head. You know you lost something valuable. You don't know why. He was silent. Then he said, I miss you. Those words would have destroyed me months ago. Now? They only made me sad. Do you miss me? I asked. Or do you miss the woman who always chose you? His lips parted. But no words came out. Because he didn't know. And that was the problem. Before he left, Ethan stopped at the door. Sadie. I looked up. What? He hesitated. I never thought you would hate me. I stared at him. I don't hate you. His expression softened. Really? No. I smiled sadly. Because hate means I still care. His face changed. I just don't feel the same anymore. Those words hurt him. I could see it. For the first time, Ethan Carter understood what rejection felt like. That evening, I attended a business dinner hosted by Reed Global. Alexander Reed was there. The moment he saw me, he walked over. You handled Ethan well today. I looked at him. You knew he came? I know everything happening in my investment. I smiled. That sounds slightly scary. He laughed. Maybe. Then his expression became serious. But I was proud of you. I looked away. I'm still learning. No. Alexander shook his head. You're not learning how to become valuable, Sadie. You're learning to accept that you already were. For some reason, those words affected me more than I expected. Because Alexander never looked at me like I was broken. He never looked at me like a project. He simply saw me. At the end of the dinner, Alexander offered to drive me home. In the car, he suddenly asked, Can I ask you something? Sure. Do you still love Ethan? I looked out the window. A year ago, that question would have hurt. Now it felt distant. I loved the man I thought he was. Alexander was quiet. And now? I smiled. Now I love the woman I became. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he said softly, Good. Good? Because that woman deserves someone who sees her. My heart skipped slightly. I looked at him. But he was already looking ahead. As if he hadn't just said something that stayed in my mind. The next morning, something unexpected happened. My company received an invitation. A partnership proposal. From Carter Technologies. Ethan's company. I stared at the email. My first reaction was disbelief. My second was confusion. Why would Ethan want to work with me? Then I saw the signature. Ethan Carter. And below it was one sentence. I hope this gives us a chance to talk. I closed the email. Because I knew something. Ethan wasn't just trying to discuss business. He was finally realizing the truth. The woman he abandoned was the woman he needed most. But this time, I wasn't waiting for him. When I received the partnership proposal from Carter Technologies, I stared at the email for a long time. Not because I was excited. Not because I wanted to see Ethan again. But because I never expected the man who once told me I was holding him back to come back asking for my help. The irony was almost impossible to ignore. A few months ago, Ethan believed I was the reason he couldn't have the life he wanted. Now, he was asking me to become part of his future. I closed my laptop. Interesting. Emma looked up from her desk. Is that a good interesting or a bad interesting? I smiled. The kind of interesting that reminds you some people only recognize your value after they lose access to it. She understood immediately. Ethan? I nodded. He wants a partnership. Emma frowned. After everything he did? I looked at the proposal again. This isn't about him anymore. Then what is it about? I stood up. It's about business. And that was the difference between the old Sadie and the new Sadie. The old me would have looked for hidden meaning. The old me would have wondered. Does he miss me? Does he regret leaving? Does he still love me? But the woman I had become only asked one question. Is this the right decision for me? I agreed to meet Ethan. Not because I wanted closure. I already had that. I agreed because I was a businesswoman now. And business decisions weren't made based on old wounds. When I arrived at the meeting, Ethan was already there. For a second, we just looked at each other. He looked different. Not physically. Emotionally. The confidence he always carried seemed weaker. Sadie. Ethan. He smiled slightly. I wasn't sure you would come. I sat down. You requested a business meeting. I'm here for business. His smile faded a little. Right. No warmth. No old affection. No wife waiting to forgive him. Just me. A woman sitting across from him as an equal. He opened the file. Carter Technologies wants to cooperate with Rise Wellness. I looked through the documents. The proposal is interesting. His eyes brightened. Really? But. He stopped. But. I placed the file down. I need to know something. What? Why me? The question caught him off guard. He was silent. Then he said, because you're talented. I looked at him. A year ago, those words would have meant everything. Now they meant nothing. Funny. His eyebrows moved. What's funny? You spent years telling me I wasn't enough. His expression changed. Sadie. No. I shook my head. I'm not bringing up the past to hurt you. I looked directly at him. I'm reminding myself not to forget it. He lowered his eyes. For once, Ethan Carter had nothing to say. The meeting ended professionally. No arguments. No tears. No dramatic goodbye. And somehow, that hurt Ethan more than anger would have. Because anger meant I still cared. Indifference meant I had moved on. Later that day, Ethan sat in his office reviewing the partnership documents. His assistant walked in. Mr. Carter, Victoria is here. Ethan looked up. Send her in. Victoria entered with a smile. But this time, Ethan noticed something. Something he ignored before. She never asked how he was. She never asked about his stress. She only asked about results. How did the meeting go? Ethan looked at her. Fine. Did Sadie agree? His eyes narrowed. Why are you so interested in Sadie? Victoria smiled. I'm just curious. No. Ethan's voice became colder. You sounded worried. For the first time, Victoria's expression changed. Only for a second. But Ethan noticed. The truth started coming out slowly. First, it was a financial report. Then an email. Then a conversation Ethan wasn't supposed to hear. Victoria had been moving company funds through another account. At first, Ethan refused to believe it. He confronted her that night. Explain this. Victoria looked at the documents. Then laughed. You went through my things? You transferred company money without approval. She rolled her eyes. Don't act like this is a big deal. A big deal? Ethan stared at her. Victoria, this is millions of dollars. She walked closer. Ethan, relax. I was protecting our future. Our future? Yes. She touched his arm. You think I came back because I missed the old days? Silence. Ethan's face changed. What does that mean? Victoria sighed. You really haven't changed. What? You still think everything is about love. Her smile disappeared. The world doesn't work like that. Ethan stepped back. For the first time, he saw her clearly. Not the woman from his memories. Not the perfect first love he created in his mind. The real Victoria. You used me. She smiled coldly. Don't be dramatic. We used each other. Those words destroyed the last illusion. Because suddenly Ethan understood. He had left the woman who loved him. For the woman who only wanted what he had. Meanwhile, my company reached a new milestone. Our latest product launch became a huge success. Major media outlets covered the story. One article called me the woman who rebuilt herself after losing everything. I hated that title at first. Because I didn't lose everything. I lost someone who didn't deserve me. But I understood what people meant. My old life ended. And I created something better. A week later, I attended a high-level business gala. Many of the same people who once ignored me were now trying to talk to me. One woman who used to whisper about my appearance approached me. Sadie, you look amazing. I smiled politely. Thank you. She hesitated. I hope you don't mind me saying this, but Ethan really made a mistake. I looked at her. I don't need him to have made a mistake for me to succeed. She became quiet. Because that was the truth. My success was not Ethan's punishment. It was my freedom. During the event, Ethan appeared. Alone. No Victoria. No confident smile. Just Ethan. He walked toward me. Sadie. I turned. Hello. He looked around. Everyone here respects you. I smiled. They should. He looked hurt. I know. That answer surprised me. He continued. I was wrong. I didn't respond. I spent so much time looking for someone better that I failed to see the person who was already amazing. I held my glass. Ethan. I know I don't deserve another chance. For once, he sounded honest. But I want you to know something. What? His voice became quiet. I regret it. I looked at him. I regret losing you. For a moment, I saw the pain in his eyes. The pain I once carried. But this time, it wasn't mine. I hope you find peace, Ethan. His face changed. That's all? I nodded. Yes. After everything? I looked at him calmly. After everything, I learned something. What? You can regret hurting someone and still not deserve them back. His eyes filled with sadness. Because he finally understood. An apology could arrive too late. Later that night, Alexander found me outside. You okay? I smiled. Yes. Really? I nodded. Really? He looked at me carefully. You handled that well. I thought I would feel happier. And? I looked at the lights in the distance. I don't feel happy that he's suffering. Alexander stayed quiet. I just feel free. A small smile appeared on his face. That's the Sadie I respect. I looked at him. What do you mean? The woman who doesn't need revenge because she already won. My heart moved slightly. Because Alexander never celebrated Ethan's downfall. He celebrated my growth. And that was the difference. The next morning, Ethan received another shock. The board of directors discovered Victoria's financial betrayal. The news spread quickly. Carter Technologies was facing a major crisis. Investors demanded answers. Employees questioned Ethan's leadership. And the media began asking, how did Ethan Carter lose control of his own company? But the biggest question came from Ethan himself. Sitting alone in his office, he looked at the old photo of us. The photo from when he had nothing. When I believed in him. When I loved him. He whispered. Sadie. For the first time, he understood. The woman he abandoned wasn't weak. She was the reason he became successful. And now, she was the only person who had truly moved on. The news about Carter Technologies spread quickly. Within days, everyone in the business world knew that Ethan Carter's company was facing a serious crisis. The same media outlets that once praised him were now questioning his decisions. CEO Ethan Carter faces internal investigation. Was Carter Technologies built on a false image? Former wife Sadie Cooper becomes industry rising star while Ethan struggles. I saw those headlines. But I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel joy watching the man who hurt me fall. Because I had learned something important. His failure was not my victory. My victory was waking up every morning knowing I no longer needed his approval. Sadie. Emma walked into my office holding a tablet. Your interview request list doubled overnight. I looked up. Again? She nodded. 3 major magazines, 2 international business channels, and a women's leadership conference. I smiled slightly. Decline the ones that only want my divorce story. Emma looked surprised. Really? Yes. Most people would use that attention. I shook my head. My divorce is not my achievement. I closed the document in front of me. My work is. Emma smiled. I think that's exactly why people respect you. I looked at my company logo on the wall. A year ago, I thought losing Ethan meant losing my identity. Now I understood. I never lost myself. I just spent too long giving someone else the spotlight. Meanwhile, Ethan was trying to save his company. But every door that used to open easily was now closed. Investors who once begged for his attention were suddenly unavailable. Partners questioned his leadership. And for the first time, Ethan experienced what it felt like to stand alone. His assistant placed a report on his desk. Mr. Carter, another investor withdrew. Ethan rubbed his forehead. Who? Reed Global. He froze. Alexander Reed? Yes. Ethan's expression changed. Because he knew exactly what that meant. Alexander wasn't just another investor. He was one of the most powerful figures in the industry. And he had chosen Sadie. Not him. That afternoon, Ethan came to my office again. This time, he didn't come with a business proposal. He came alone. My assistant looked at me. Should I let him in? I thought for a moment. Then nodded. Yes. Ethan entered. But something was different. The arrogance was gone. The confidence was gone. He looked like a man who finally realized he had lost something impossible to replace. Sadie. I continued reading the document in front of me. What do you need? He swallowed. I wanted to talk. About? Us. I looked up. There is no us anymore. The pain on his face was obvious. But I didn't look away. Because I spent too many nights crying alone while he ignored my pain. Now he needed to understand what losing someone felt like. I know I hurt you. I stayed silent. I know I said things I shouldn't have said. Still silent. I was cruel. I closed my folder. Yes. He looked at me. I deserved that. I nodded. You did. For some reason, my honesty surprised him. Maybe he expected me to comfort him. Maybe he expected me to say, "It's okay." But it wasn't. Some wounds don't disappear because someone finally says sorry. Sadie, I want another chance. The words came quietly. But they still shocked me. Not because I wanted to hear them. Because I couldn't believe the same man who pushed me away was now asking me to come back. I looked at him. Ethan. He stepped closer. I know I don't deserve it. No. My voice was calm. You don't. His eyes lowered. But I want to prove myself. I shook my head. That's the problem. What? You want to prove yourself because you lost me. I stood up. But when you had me, you never tried. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Because there was no argument. I begged you to see me. My voice became softer. Not with words. With everything I did. I cooked for you. I supported you. I believed in you when nobody else did. And you still looked at me and decided I wasn't enough. His eyes turned red. Sadie. I spent months wondering what was wrong with me. I looked at him. Do you know how painful that was? He whispered. I'm sorry. I nodded. I believe you are. His eyes lifted. Hope appeared for a second. Then I continued. But being sorry doesn't undo what happened. That evening, I attended a charity event hosted by Reed Global. Alexander was there. The moment he saw me, he walked over. You look tired. I smiled. That obvious? Only to someone paying attention. The answer made me pause. Because Ethan never noticed when I was tired. He only noticed when I wasn't convenient. Alexander handed me a glass of water. Long day? Yes. Because of Ethan? I looked at him. You knew? He smiled slightly. I don't need to know everything. Then how? Because whenever someone from your past appears, you become quieter. I looked away. Am I that easy to read? No. Alexander shook his head. You're just someone I pay attention to. Those words were simple. But they meant more than he knew. Later that night, Alexander and I talked outside. For the first time, I told him everything. Not the dramatic version. The real version. The nights I cried. The moments I questioned myself. The feeling of being replaced. When I finished, I looked down. I hate that I still remember those things. Alexander was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Sadie. I looked at him. Don't be ashamed of your scars. His voice was gentle. They prove you survived something that could have destroyed you. I smiled. You always know what to say. No. He looked at me. I just listen. That simple answer touched me. Because for years, I had a husband who talked but never listened. And now there was a man who said less. But understood more. A few days later, my company held a major product launch. The event was broadcast online. Thousands of people watched. During the interview, the host asked, Sadie, many people know your story. You went through a difficult divorce and then built an empire. Was revenge your motivation? I smiled. No. The audience became quiet. At first, maybe I wanted to prove people wrong. I paused. But eventually, I realized something. What? I didn't need to become successful because someone hurt me. I became successful because I finally stopped letting someone else decide my worth. The video went viral within hours. Thousands of women shared my words. Many said, Thank you for reminding us we are enough. Ethan watched the interview alone. Every word felt like a reminder of what he had lost. His phone rang. It was his lawyer. Mr. Carter, we need to discuss the company situation. Ethan barely heard him. Because all he could think about was one thing. Sadie wasn't trying to hurt him. She wasn't trying to make him jealous. She wasn't waiting for him to regret his choices. She had truly moved on. And that terrified him. That night, Ethan sent me a message. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I destroyed what we had. But I need you to know something. I never stopped loving you. I looked at the message. Years ago, those words would have broken me. Now they only made me sigh. Because love wasn't just a feeling. Love was a choice. And when he had the chance to choose me, he didn't. I placed my phone down. Then another message appeared. This time, from Alexander. Did you get home safely? I smiled. Yes. A few seconds later, he replied. Good. That's all I wanted to know. I stared at those simple words. And for the first time, I realized something. One man loved the idea of having me. Another man cared about having me happy. And maybe I was finally ready to choose the person who chose me first. The day after my interview went viral, my life changed again. But this time, it wasn't because of Ethan. It was because millions of people finally saw Sadie Cooper. Not Ethan Carter's ex-wife. Not the woman who was abandoned. Not the woman people felt sorry for. Me. A woman who had rebuilt herself. A woman who refused to disappear. When I arrived at the office that morning, Emma was already waiting for me. She looked excited. Sadie, you need to see this. She handed me her tablet. I looked at the screen. Thousands of comments filled the interview video. She gave me courage to leave my toxic marriage. I thought I wasn't enough. Thank you for reminding me I am. Sadie Cooper is the definition of a comeback. I stared at the comments quietly. Emma smiled. You realize what happened, right? What? You didn't just build a company. She pointed at the screen. You became someone people believe in. I looked away. A year ago, I was sitting alone in a small apartment wondering if I would ever feel confident again. Now, strangers were telling me my story helped them survive their own pain. It was overwhelming. But it also reminded me why I started. I didn't want revenge. I wanted every woman who had ever been told she wasn't enough to know one thing. They were never the problem. That afternoon, I received an invitation. A global women's entrepreneurship summit. They wanted me to be the keynote speaker. Emma looked at the invitation. This is huge. I nodded. It is. Are you nervous? I smiled. A little. She looked surprised. You? Nervous? I laughed. Of course. Why? I looked at her. Because I know what it feels like to be invisible. I touched the invitation. And now everyone is watching. Emma smiled. Then let them watch. Meanwhile, Ethan was watching everything from his office. Every news article. Every interview. Every achievement. My face was everywhere. But the thing that hurt him the most wasn't my success. It was seeing how happy I looked. Not the fake smile I used to wear for him. A real one. The kind that reached my eyes. His assistant walked in. Mr. Carter. Ethan looked up. Yes? The board meeting is ready. He nodded. But before standing up, he looked at his phone. My latest interview was still open. The interviewer had asked, do you regret loving someone who hurt you? My answer was simple. No. Because that love taught me something. What? That I should never abandon myself just because someone else does. Ethan closed the video. Because he couldn't keep watching. The board meeting was a disaster. Investors were angry. Executives wanted explanations. One board member looked at Ethan. You need to explain how Victoria Hayes gained access to company finances. Ethan remained silent. Another executive spoke. Mr. Carter, this isn't just about money. It's about trust. Trust. That word hurt. Because suddenly Ethan remembered. Sadie had trusted him completely. And he destroyed that trust. A board member placed a document on the table. There is one more issue. Ethan looked at it. What? The original technology strategy behind Carter Technologies. His expression changed. What about it? The man looked at him. Much of the original framework was created by Sadie Cooper. Silence. Everyone looked at Ethan. Is that true? Ethan didn't answer. Because it was. He remembered the nights Sadie sat beside him. The notes she created. The ideas she suggested. The plans she designed. Back then, he called it help. Now he realized. It was talent. 2 weeks later, I attended the Global Women's Summit. Thousands of people joined online. Cameras surrounded the stage. The host introduced me. Sadie Cooper, founder of Rise Wellness Technologies. Not Ethan Carter's former wife. Not the woman who was left behind. Just my name. I walked onto the stage. And for a moment, I remembered the old Sadie. The woman who cried in front of a mirror. The woman who wondered if she was lovable. Then I looked at the audience. And I smiled. The interviewer asked. Sadie, your story has inspired millions. But many people still focus on one thing. What? Your ex-husband left you because he believed you were not attractive enough. The room became quiet. I expected that question. I was ready. I used to believe his opinion defined me. I paused. I thought if I became prettier, thinner, were more impressive, maybe he would choose me again. The audience listened carefully. But then I realized something. I looked directly into the camera. The right person will never make you feel like you have to earn love. People started reacting online immediately. I continued. I didn't transform because I wanted Ethan Carter to regret losing me. I transformed because I finally understood that I deserved better. The audience applauded. But then the host asked the question everyone wanted to know. Would you ever take him back? I smiled. No. The answer was immediate. Why? Because forgiveness and reconciliation are different things. I looked calm. I forgive him because I don't want to carry anger anymore. But I won't return to a place where I had to beg to be valued. The clip spread everywhere within hours. Ethan watched the interview from beginning to end. This time, he didn't turn it off. Because he needed to hear every word. When I said I wouldn't return, his eyes lowered. Not because he was angry. Because he finally accepted the truth. I wasn't waiting. That evening, something unexpected happened. Victoria appeared on the news. Not as Ethan's partner. As a person involved in a financial investigation. Her actions had been exposed. The woman Ethan believed was perfect was now facing public criticism. Reporters surrounded her. Victoria, did you manipulate Ethan Carter? Did you use your relationship for financial gain? She refused to answer. But the damage was done. Everyone saw the truth. Ethan called me that night. I looked at the screen. Ethan Carter. I hesitated. Then answered. Hello? His voice was quiet. Sadie. What happened? I saw the interview. I didn't say anything. You were right. Those words surprised me. I was? Yes. He took a breath. I spent so much time thinking you needed to change. A pause. But the truth is. His voice became emotional. I was the one who needed to change. I sat quietly. Because this was the apology I once dreamed of hearing. But now? It came too late. Sadie, I know I can't fix everything. No. I know. But I want you to know. He stopped. I am proud of you. I closed my eyes for a moment. Then said. Thank you. He sounded surprised. That's all? Yes. Why? Because I accept your apology. A pause. But I don't need anything else from you. The silence on the phone was painful. But necessary. After hanging up, I stood by my window. For years, I wanted Ethan to finally see me. Now he did. But it didn't matter anymore. Because I had already seen myself. My phone vibrated. A message from Alexander. How was your day? I smiled. Crazy. A few seconds later. Did you eat? I laughed. That's your question? Yes. Why? Because everyone else is asking about your success. A second message appeared. I want to know if you're taking care of yourself. My heart softened. Because Alexander didn't care about my achievements only. He cared about me. The person behind them. I replied. I ate. Good. Then. Sleep early tonight. I smiled at my phone. Simple words. But somehow they gave me a feeling I hadn't felt in years. Security. That night, I realized something. Ethan finally understood my value after losing me. But Alexander saw my value before I ever had to prove it. One man regretted losing me. The other never wanted to lose me. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid of choosing a new future. Because I finally knew my worth. A year ago, I thought the hardest thing in life was losing Ethan Carter. I was wrong. The hardest thing was finding myself after spending so many years believing I wasn't enough. Now, standing at the top of my career, I finally understood something. Ethan didn't destroy me. He accidentally pushed me toward the life I was always meant to have. After Victoria's betrayal became public, Carter Technologies entered its most difficult period. Many people expected me to celebrate. They thought I would enjoy watching Ethan fall. But when reporters asked me about the situation, my answer surprised everyone. Do you have any comments about Ethan Carter's company crisis? I looked at the reporter calmly. I hope the employees are protected and the company finds a responsible solution. The reporter seemed surprised. Even after everything that happened between you? I nodded. Yes. Why? I smiled slightly. Because my success was never built on someone else's failure. That answer spread online. Many people praised me. Others said, Sadie Cooper is powerful because she doesn't need revenge. And that was true. I didn't want Ethan to suffer. I just wanted him to understand what he lost. A few days later, Ethan asked to meet me again. This time, I almost refused. But when my assistant told me why, I changed my mind. He wants to discuss the employees affected by the crisis. I nodded. Fine. When Ethan arrived, he looked exhausted. Not like the confident CEO who once walked into every room believing he owned it. He looked like someone who finally understood the weight of his choices. Thank you for meeting me. I sat across from him. Let's talk about business. He smiled sadly. You always say that now. Because business is the only reason we're here. He lowered his eyes. I know. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Ethan said, I read what you said to the reporters. I waited. You protected my employees. I nodded. They didn't do anything wrong. His eyes became emotional. You are still kind. I looked at him. No, Ethan. He looked surprised. What? I'm not the same woman anymore. I continued. The old Sadie would have done it because she still loved you. I paused. The new Sadie does it because she knows what is right. Those words hit him. Because he finally understood. My kindness was no longer something he could use. It was my choice. I need to tell you something. I looked at him. What? He took a deep breath. When we got divorced, I thought you would come back. I didn't react. I thought you were angry. He laughed bitterly. I thought after some time, you would miss me. And now? He looked at me. Now I know you weren't trying to punish me. I stayed quiet. You were leaving. His voice became lower. Really leaving. For some reason, that sentence hurt. Not because I wanted him back. Because I remembered the woman I used to be. The woman who waited for him to notice. The woman who hoped he would finally choose her. But that woman was gone. Ethan. He looked up. I hope you become a better person. His expression changed. You still care about me? I thought about it. Then answered honestly. I care about the person you could become. But not about us? I shook my head. No. The answer was quiet. But final. I loved you deeply. I know. But love cannot survive when only one person protects it. His eyes filled with regret. I know that now. I believed him. That was the sad part. I believed he was truly sorry. But regret didn't change the past. And it couldn't create a future. After the meeting, I walked outside. Alexander was waiting for me. He didn't ask what Ethan said. He didn't pressure me. He simply opened the car door. Rough meeting? I smiled. How did you know? Because you look like someone who just closed an old chapter. I looked at him. You always understand too much. He smiled. Maybe because I pay attention. I laughed softly. Then he became serious. Did he hurt you again? I shook my head. No. Did he make you doubt yourself? No. Alexander nodded. Good. I looked at him. That's all you care about? Yes. Why? He looked directly at me. Because I spent a long time watching you forget how amazing you were. I froze. What? He looked away briefly. Then smiled. Forget I said that. No. I stared at him. Alexander. He sighed. I knew of you before we met. My heart skipped. What do you mean? I saw your work years ago. You did? He nodded. When everyone else saw Ethan Carter's success, I saw the woman behind it. I didn't know what to say. Because no one had ever said that before. Not even Ethan. That night, Alexander finally admitted something he had hidden for a long time. I liked you before you knew me. I looked at him. Why didn't you say anything? He smiled. Because you were married. I felt my chest tighten. And after the divorce? I wanted you to heal first. Why? Because I didn't want to become another person who took something from you. Those words stayed with me. Because Alexander wasn't waiting for a chance to replace Ethan. He was waiting for a chance to love Sadie. The real Sadie. A few weeks later, my company announced a major expansion. The partnership with Reed Global became official. The media went crazy. Sadie Cooper and Alexander Reed joined forces. Two industry leaders create new business empire. During the press conference, a reporter asked, Ms. Cooper, many people believe your partnership with Mr. Reed is more than business. Is there any truth to that? The room became quiet. I looked at Alexander. He didn't avoid the question. He simply smiled. Before I could answer, he said, I admire Sadie. The reporter continued. Only admire? Alexander looked at me. Then said, anyone who knows her understands she is extraordinary. My heart moved. But he continued. I don't need to define her through my relationship with her. She is already someone worth respecting. The audience reacted immediately. Because Alexander didn't claim me. He celebrated me. Meanwhile, Ethan watched the interview. He saw the way Alexander looked at me. Not like an achievement. Not like a possession. Like someone precious. And that was when Ethan finally understood the difference. He loved having Sadie. Alexander loved Sadie herself. That evening, Ethan sent me one final message. I finally understand. I looked at the screen. Another message appeared. I spent years trying to find someone perfect. I didn't realize perfection was never the point. You were the person who loved me when I was nothing. And I lost you when I became someone. I read the message quietly. Then I replied. I hope you find happiness, Ethan. He answered immediately. Can I ever have another chance? I looked at the words. Then typed. No. A long pause. Then. Why? I smiled sadly. Because I already gave you my best years. And now I'm giving myself the rest. I put my phone down. And for the first time, there was no sadness. Only peace. Later that night, Alexander walked me home. Before leaving, he stopped. Sadie. Yes? I know you don't need anyone to save you. I smiled. Good answer. He laughed. But I hope you know something. What? I don't want to save you. He looked at me. I want to stand beside you. My heart softened. Because after everything, that was the kind of love I wanted. Not someone who needed me to be smaller. Not someone who loved me only when I was useful. Someone who saw my strength. And loved me even more because of it. And I knew then. The next chapter of my life was finally beginning. I found the love I deserved. 2 years after my divorce from Ethan Carter, my life looked completely different. But the biggest change wasn't my company. It wasn't the awards. It wasn't the magazine covers or the millions of people who knew my name. The biggest change was that I finally stopped measuring my happiness by someone else's opinion. For years, I thought being loved meant being chosen. I thought if Ethan chose me, it meant I was enough. But I was wrong. The truth was much simpler. I was always enough. I just spent too long trying to prove it to someone who refused to see it. Rise Wellness Technologies became one of the fastest growing companies in the industry. Our products helped millions of people build healthier relationships with themselves. But what made me happiest wasn't the money. It wasn't the recognition. It was receiving messages from women who told me my story gave them courage. One message stayed with me. I left a marriage where I felt invisible because of you. Thank you for reminding me that I matter. I read it several times. Then I smiled. Because that was the reason I started this journey. Not to make Ethan regret leaving. Not to make anyone jealous. But because no one should spend their entire life believing they are not worthy of love. Ethan eventually stepped away from Carter Technologies. After Victoria's betrayal, the company survived, but Ethan was no longer the same man. He sold part of his shares and focused on rebuilding himself. For the first time, he stopped blaming everyone else. He admitted his mistakes. And strangely enough, I was happy for him. Not because I wanted him back. Because I no longer needed him to fail for me to succeed. One afternoon, I received a message from him. Can we talk one last time? I stared at the screen. Then I replied. Okay. We met at a small coffee shop. The same kind of place where two ordinary people could sit and talk without pretending. When Ethan arrived, he looked calmer. Older. Not broken. Just different. Thank you for coming. I nodded. You're welcome. He smiled slightly. You always were kinder than I deserved. I didn't respond. Because I knew where this conversation was going. I want to apologize. I looked at him. You already did. I know. He looked down. But I don't think I ever truly understood what I did. I stayed silent. He continued. I thought losing you meant losing someone who supported me. A bitter smile appeared on his face. But I was wrong. He looked at me. I lost the person who believed in me before anyone else did. My expression softened slightly. Because that was the truth. I should have protected you. He swallowed. Instead, I became the person who hurt you the most. I looked at my hands. For a long time, I imagined this moment. I imagined Ethan apologizing. I imagined feeling satisfied. But now that it happened, I only felt peace. Ethan. He looked up. I forgive you. His eyes changed. Really? I nodded. Yes. Hope appeared on his face. Then I continued. But forgiveness doesn't mean going back. The hope disappeared slowly. I know. I don't hate you. I know. But I don't love you anymore. He closed his eyes. Those words hurt him. But they were honest. And honesty was something we both deserved. After leaving the coffee shop, I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel like I lost something. Because I finally understood. Some people are part of your story. But they are not meant to be your ending. That evening, Alexander picked me up. The moment I got into the car, he looked at me. How did it go? I smiled. Peaceful. He nodded. Good. I looked at him. You're not going to ask what he said? No. Why? He smiled. Because I trust you. That simple answer made my heart warm. Trust. Something I once gave someone who didn't protect it. Something Alexander gave me without asking for anything in return. A few weeks later, Alexander invited me to a charity event. I expected a normal evening. I didn't expect him to surprise me. When we arrived, I noticed something different. Only a small group of people were there. No cameras. No reporters. No business discussions. Just people close to us. I looked at him. Alexander? He smiled. Before you panic, no, this isn't a business meeting. I laughed. Then what is it? He took my hand. And suddenly, I felt nervous. Not because I was afraid. Because I realized this moment mattered. Sadie. His voice was calm. I spent a long time admiring you from a distance. I smiled. Apparently, you have been keeping secrets. He laughed. Maybe one. Then he became serious. I watched you lose everything you thought defined you. And I watched you rebuild yourself. He held my hand tighter. But the thing I admired most wasn't your success. It was your heart. I looked at him quietly. You never became bitter. You never became cruel. You became stronger. My eyes started to fill with tears. Alexander continued. I don't want a perfect woman. I don't want someone who needs me to complete her. I want Sadie Cooper. The woman who challenges me. The woman who makes me laugh. The woman who taught me that strength can be gentle. Then he lowered himself onto one knee. My heart stopped. Sadie. He looked up at me. Will you marry me? For years, I dreamed of someone choosing me. But this felt different. Because Alexander wasn't choosing me because he needed me. He was choosing me because he respected me. Because he saw me. Because he loved me exactly as I was. I smiled through my tears. Yes. His smile was the happiest I had ever seen. Yes? I laughed. Yes, Alexander. Our wedding became one of the most talked about events of the year. But unlike my first marriage, this time I wasn't trying to prove anything. I wasn't trying to become someone worthy of love. I already knew I was. I wore a dress that made me feel beautiful. Not because someone else approved. Because I loved myself. Alexander stood beside me and whispered. Are you happy? I looked at him. More than I ever imagined. He smiled. Good. Because I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you never forget how special you are. Years later, people still asked me about my transformation. They asked, how did you go from being abandoned to becoming so successful? My answer was always the same. I didn't become successful because someone left me. I became successful because I finally stopped leaving myself. My story was never about revenge. It was about healing. It was about finding the woman I had buried under years of sacrifice. It was about understanding that love should never make you smaller. The right person will never ask you to shrink. The right person will stand beside you and say, be exactly who you are. And that was what Alexander gave me. Not a rescue. Not a second chance. A partnership. A love where two people stood together, not because they needed each other to survive, but because they wanted to share the life they had already built. As for Ethan Carter, he became a lesson from my past. A reminder of the woman I used to be. And the reason I would never again forget my own worth. I was Sadie Cooper. I was not the woman someone abandoned. I was the woman who rose. And this time, the whole world was watching.